Genetic modification is defined as the process of altering the genetic makeup of an organism. Genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, are actually very common. Although the foods you eat every day don't look or seem like they've been genetically altered, most of them have been, or they contain ingredients that have been genetically altered. This is a topic I have researched a lot about because of school, but when I realized how many of the foods I ate regularly that were genetically altered, I did more research on it because I found it very interesting. Genetic modification in foods is when the genes are changed in some way, and we encounter these foods every day. Today I'm going to talk about what genetically modifying foods genes does, and what kind of foods that you eat you might not know are genetically modified. Genetic modification, or genetic engineering, is altering the genes of an organism, specifically foods. Genetic modification happens when a scientist adds a specific piece of DNA into a plant's genome, resulting in different characteristics or traits. Scientists don't modify genes in foods just because they can. There are many different reasons why genetic modification occurs. Many plants are genetically modified to resist pests, reduce the need for pesticides, increase crop yield, or even enhance the nutrients within the plant. For example, the soybean plant is genetically modified to tolerate herbicides. Another example, according to FDA's How GMO Crops Impact Our World, the rainbow papaya is a genetically modified crop that had been modified to resist a virus that once threatened the papaya farmers and the papaya industry in Hawaii. This rainbow papaya was commercially planted in 1998 and is still growing and being exported into other countries. Many plants are genetically modified in order to benefit the crop's overall health and the plant's benefits as food. Now that we know what genetic modification is and what it does, let's talk about how much of the food that you eat is genetically modified. Genetically modified foods are very common, and most of us encounter them every day. In an article by Center for Food Safety called About Genetically Engineered Foods, there is a quote that says, "It has been estimated that upwards of 75% of processed foods on the supermarket shelves contain genetically engineered ingredients," meaning that when you go into a grocery store, you will more than likely encounter or even buy genetically modified foods. Within the United States, according to the same article about genetically engineered foods, 92% of corn in the United States is genetically engineered, and 94% of all soybeans are genetically engineered as well. Bananas are another example of a food that have been genetically altered. Bananas went almost completely extinct when a fungus called T4 wiped out most of them. Scientists were able to genetically modify bananas so that they could resist the fungus and grow longer. Without genetic modification, we would not have bananas. Many brands also use genetically modified foods. Some of these brands include Dole, Hershey's, Smucker's, Campbell's, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Ocean Spray, Nestle, Del Monte, Cheerios, Land Lakes, and Kellogg's. These are all just a few of many. Genetic modification within food is altering its genes to get a desired characteristic, and genetically modified foods are very common. Genetic modification isn't as crazy and rare as many people tend to think. Many foods that we eat are genetically modified, and that's why I think it's a very interesting topic.